What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the North Shore 9 postgame show powered by Permani Brothers. I'm Jim. Doug was supposed to join me tonight, but he's having some technical issues. He's got no audio, so I guess we could have had Doug on here just kind of rambling, but he wouldn't have been able to hear anything that I said. So we're going to get through this. Again, it's spring training for us, just like it's spring training for the Pirates. So we've got 4 of these post-game shows this spring training. So we'll make sure we get Doug on another show later this spring. But let's talk about this game. The Pirates play Baltimore Orioles tonight. Mitch Keller on the mound. They drop one 6-3. Yeah, let's go. Let's do a solo post game show, I guess. I'm going to need you guys in the comments though, because it's going to help out a whole lot getting through this thing. The more that you guys are in the comments. So shout out Daniel, shout out Giga. Thanks for coming on here. Dougie, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. All right. So we've got Doug in the house. I love it. Good stuff. All right. Yeah, we're going to get into this whole thing. Before we do, let me just first tell you guys about Bet Online. It's the world's most trusted betting platform and your #1 source for online betting for 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, Bet Online continues to be your #1 sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here. All right, Doug. You know what? It was a 6-3 loss. We're glad that you got on the stream. Glad that we got over our technical difficulties here. I've got a lot to cover today. I feel like it was maybe somewhat of a boring game, but I think there's a lot that we can take out of this game, a lot that we can discuss. I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts about your boy Mitch Keller. So we'll start off there. So Mitch Keller starts. I want to say this was his 4th start of the spring. You can tell that the goal for them was for him to get up and down 5 times today. That was the goal. He ends up going 3 1/3 innings. We'll talk about the re-entry role. It was in effect today in the 2nd inning. He leaves the 2nd inning early and then comes back in the 3rd. I don't know what's going on with Doug there, but yeah, I want to talk about Mitch Keller's start because I think there were certainly some causes for concern. Like the walks certainly were an issue. 3 walks today, but I think there were some interesting signs as well. So I want to start with just really the first at bat of the game. He's facing Jackson Holiday. I think Doug's internet is out. He's saying that he retires. So we may be doing this one solo tonight. But I want to talk about Mitch Keller's first at bat. Jackson Holiday leading off. Started off 2-0, down 2-0. Came back, got a strike on a fastball, and then he threw like a really nice changeup that started off the inside part of the plate. It tailed back over the plate. It was called strike 2, and then finished him off with a high fastball. It's like 95-mile-an-hour fastball up in the zone, above the zone. So it was a good start for Keller. I think the changeup is something I definitely want to talk about today because it's a pitch that he didn't throw a ton last year. I want to say he threw like 28, 21 changeups all of last year. I'll get the exact, 21. It was a pitch he threw 0.7% of the time. And today, Mitch Keller throws a grand total of 9 changeups. And it was a good pitch. It was a good pitch. Only one of them was put in play, and it was, a 70-mile-an-hour cue shot. He generated 5 swings. 3 of those were swings and misses. He also got 2 of those changeups that were called a strike. So it was a pitch that he was able to locate really effectively today. And it was a really, really nice pitch for him against lefties. So we've seen him kind of scrap that cutter. Baseball Savant does say he threw 1 cutter today, but who knows? I mean, that could have just been a mislabeled slider or sweeper. But if that was a cutter, it was his first cutter of the spring. But we are seeing him go to that changeup a whole lot more, specifically against left-handed batters. And that's just a pitch that it was always there, but it wasn't a pitch that he relied on to get outs. It wasn't a pitch he relied on to get strikes. He kind of had a show me changeup. And it's a pitch that he's really starting to throw a lot more now. The most that he's ever thrown his changeup. I'm trying to even look here. He threw it 6.5% of the time in 2022, but 2.8% of the time in 2023, and he basically scrapped it last year. So it's good to see him going back to that, because that's a pitch where if you can locate it and you can be effective, if you can locate that pitch specifically against left-handers, it just, all your other stuff works off of it so much nicer. And it's a pitch that you can get outs with. It's a pitch you can get swings and misses with. It's a pitch you can get back into counts with. That's one thing where, you're down 2-0 on a lefty hitter. They're going to be hunting fastball. If you can give them a well-placed, well-executed changeup, it can completely turn the count around, can completely change the at-bat. So something that I want to keep an eye on there. You see the Jared Jones progression with his changeup throughout this spring, but we're seeing it with Mitch Keller too. Couple things with Keller's out. I mean, that was pretty much it. He did have to get taken out of the game in the second inning early. We saw the spring training re-entry rule apply here, where he left the game. Jack Carey came in to finish the second inning. The Orioles did score 3 runs that inning, but those were all 3 of the earned runs that Keller gave up. So he gives up those 3 earned runs in the second inning. He comes back out for the third, back out for the fourth, and then faced one batter in the fifth that reached on an error. But overall, I thought it was, again, the results that second inning wasn't great, 3 earned runs. But overall, the things that you want to see Mitch Keller do at this point in time in the spring, he's doing it. He was getting swings and misses. He was locating that changeup. He was working on his pitches. Like I said, second inning, that was certainly a bump in the road today. But outside that second inning, I thought he looked really effective. So I'm going to get to a couple of comments here. Jim, what happened after the bottom of the 6th? Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what happened. Like StatCast stopped working, like MLB at bat stopped working. So if you're looking at a box score, you're looking at something like that. It looks like the game just like ended in the bottom of the 6th. They did play the last 3 innings, so we'll talk about that. But there seems to be no record of it, so we're just gonna go off what's in this noggin. But yeah, just a couple other here. Doug's shitty internet persists. That's from Matt P. Donardo saying we need Doug Freshwater's Keller take. We never. Yeah, that was the thing. We didn't get to hear from Doug on Mitch Keller Day. But yeah, that was kind of my thoughts on Keller. I like the re-entry rule too. I saw some people kind of poo-pooing on that idea. It's spring training, guys. Like, the goal of this was for Keller to get deep into the game. And if it weren't for that re-entry rule, like, he may have not been able to do that. That second inning would have taken quite a few pitches out of him. And he wouldn't have been able to go into the 5th. So the thing I like about that re-entry rule, obviously, don't bring it into the regular season. We can't have a rule like this in actual baseball. But in spring training, when you're trying to have guys like accomplish a specific thing, yeah, re-entry rule. Let's use it. Let's abuse it. I think this is the second time the Pirates have used it. I think they used it with Heaney the other day as well. But yeah, let's you gotta get your five innings in. Like I said, they wanted him to get up and down 5 times. So because of that, they were able to do it. Let's talk about the offense a little bit. Jared Triolo with a triple. How about that? It's his second triple of the spring for Jared Triolo. That's pretty much all the power he's been providing. He's slugging .417 with a .250 batting average. But Triolo was 1 for 3 with a triple. He ended up scoring later on an RBI double by Jack Sawinski. And then Brian Reynolds followed that up with a single to score Sawinski. So I know Penn's happy. Jared Triolo's his boy. He's in the comments here. We'll get to there was also a really nice play made by Jared Triolo in the field. So we'll talk about that too. Overall the top of the order today, Sawinski, again, RBI single, Brian Reynolds, 2 hits, RBI, Ono Cruz got on base with a walk, Andrew McCutchen walked. Overall the top of the order is getting on base. Not a whole lot of runs being scored outside that third inning for the Pirates. They did add another run later in the game once the box scores and MLB at bat crapped out. But overall the starters, just kind of more of what we're seeing. You saw the Orioles hit. We'll get to that. Like Samuel Basayo just launched one. The wind was blowing out today at Lecom Park. You would have loved to see some of the Pirates maybe lift the ball a little bit more. Triolo's triple for sure probably would have been a routine fly ball, but that wind carried it for sure. Henry Davis had a base hit. It was a nice at bat too. It was an 8-pitch at bat. He ended up getting a single on that. IKF 2 hits. So good to see him going. He's had a kind of a rough spring. He didn't have the greatest game defensively today either. Later in the game, a couple things that I want to talk about. Jason DeLay. I feel like we just haven't seen a whole lot of him lately. I think he's 12 plate appearances all spring. Going into this spring, I thought Jason DeLay had the leg up on the backup catcher role. And after these first, we're 2 weeks into spring now, and I feel like we're just not seeing a lot of him. We've seen a bunch of Bart, we've seen a lot of Endy, we've seen a lot of Henry Davis, but Jason DeLay kind of seems to be missing. We're seeing as much Jason DeLay as we're seeing Keith McKinnon or whatever his name is, like whoever's the 6th catcher on our depth chart. So I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat here? I was under the impression DeLay was going to make a pretty good backup catcher to start this year and get Endy and Henry Davis some time in AAA, but it's looking more and more just based off playing time here. Like DeLay's getting 1, maybe 2 plate appearances every 4 days as a reserve. It's just he's not getting a whole lot of looks. He's not getting a lot of at bats. Maybe it's something where they're giving these other guys a bunch of chances earlier on in the spring, and we'll see DeLay get more playing time as we get closer to the season. I'm not really sure, but right now it's interesting to me that like heads and shoulders, Endy, Davis, Bart are getting a lot more playing time right now than Jason DeLay. DiNardo, who's Jason DeLay's biggest fan, says, does he need the at-bats right now? And you could make that argument too. Like right now, do you want to give all the playing time to Davis and Endy? And then later on in the spring, that's when you can kind of start ramping up DeLay. Brody, DeLay is who he is. There's no upside. Just give him like 10 at-bats this spring. Yeah, he's a guy who during the regular season, you're probably going to start him once a week, if that is the case, maybe twice, depending on how the day games roll. But yeah, just something I wanted to discuss there. We just have not seen a lot of him at all. Another catcher, Abraham Gutierrez, he did get the other RBI today. He actually plated DeLay. Like I said, DeLay walked in the bottom of the 7th. Abraham Gutierrez doubled down the left field line to bring in DeLay. That cut the game to 6-3, but the Pirates didn't score after that. Matt Gorski, who has been mashing Baltimore Orioles pitching, he had a little bit of action today, got 1 at bat, And the ABS system, I feel like Matt Gorski, and I want everyone's thoughts on. First off, I want everyone's thoughts on the ABS system. Put that in the chat. I'll go through them. But Matt Gorski, I feel like last week there was a time in New York where the Yankees had already ran out of all of their challenges. They call a ball on Gorski. The catcher challenges the pitch anyways, even though they're out of challenges. The umpire gives it to him, and it calls it a strike, rings up Gorski. Tonight, Gorski was screwed by the ABS system twice. It was a 2-1 pitch, and the umpire called strike 2 on a ball on the top of the zone. And there's a big difference between 3-1 and 2-2. So Gorski challenges it. He thinks it's a ball. It was a strike. It caught the top of the zone. So 2-2. He loses his challenge. Very next pitch, the umpire calls ball 3. Catcher then challenges it. Turns out it was a strike. Gorski gets rung up because of the ABS system. So a rough at bat from an ABS standpoint for Matt Gorski. He has not had a great spring when it comes to the ABS system, I feel like. But he ended up getting called out on strikes after that ABS system. With me, I kind of go back and forth on it. When I'm at a minor league game, I enjoy it. Like, I think it's fun. It's entertaining. It's a break in the action, because baseball can kind of get monotonous at times, especially, when the ball is not being put in play, which is what happens when you use the ABS system. So ball's not getting put in play. Ball's not getting put in play. All of a sudden, you've got something that's like, oh, something's going on. Let's look at this scoreboard and see what it is. So like in the minor leagues, I think it fits. In spring training, I'm all for like testing stuff out, but I don't know. I think at the beginning of spring, I was more on board with it because I liked how it works in the minors. In the majors, though, I don't know. I feel like umpires in the major leagues are very, very good. They miss a few calls here and there. You're not really seeing a lot of calls getting overturned with this system. I feel like it's like a 50-50 split. So even when batters, catchers are using it, it's like they're half right. So I don't know. I think I'm all for getting the call right, but like, is it needed? Is it really needed? I could see it like for like the egregious calls, right? Like those just egregious misses, but there's just not a lot of those. So maybe, and this is kind of a good idea. Like Brody says here, give me one challenge, 9th inning only. It would create suspense and excitement. I could get more on board with that, I think, than like 2 and in the minors, I think you get 3 challenges. In spring, they're giving people 2. I could see that. Like, give someone one challenge to use at the end of the game where it's like, hey, let's just make sure that a bad call doesn't decide this game. You know what? I like that rule. I like that rule. Cut it from 2 to 1, and maybe instead of you get it in the like it starts in the 8th inning, so like you can't use it the first 7. But you can use it in the 8th or the 9th. And that's really just to make sure that like those high intense, high pressure moments don't get ruined by a bad call. I like that idea. Penn says in practice, it's awful. He agrees with me. Brody's not a fan of the system. Penn says ABS needs to be all in or not at all. Yeah. So I said, Matt says a bad call can swing a game in the 3rd, and that's also true. I guess with something happening in the 3rd inning, there's just a lot more time to, I guess, make up for it. Like I don't know if you can. We've seen teams come back from stuff like, can you really lose a game in the 3rd inning because of a bad call? I guess you can. Like if there was a strike 3 and they called it a ball and the next pitch was a grand slam and now you're down 4-0, instead of getting out of the inning 0-0. So I could see that too. I just feel like there needs to be more limitations on it. Like it's something I don't want to see it all the time throughout the game. But yeah, maybe give it to me in the most pressure moments. You know, defense. Jared Triolo today, the Gold Glover. He was actually mic'd up for part of this game, and while he was mic'd up, there was just a blister down the line. He makes a diving catch to his right, throws the runner out at first. It was pretty cool because like normally you don't get to see the live reactions to somebody as they're making just an absolute web gem. So that was pretty neat. Really nice play from Triolo. He's just so smooth defensively. Really wish he could just hit a little bit more because I feel like he could be so. I mean, he was pretty valuable in 2023, kind of bouncing around, playing good defense, and you saw the the batting average of balls in play was sky high. But if he could just hit a little bit more, man, he could be so valuable. Especially if he could just add some more power. IKF dropped a pop up. The wind was blowing like crazy down there, so you just kind of assume that's just a grapefruit league pop up. That ended up leading to Mitch Keller's 4th run that he gave up. We talked about the Basayo home run. He crushed a ball off of Isaac Matson. Statcast said it went 404, but there's just no way. There's Statcast in spring training must not account for wind or something because this ball to right center field, it cleared the boardwalk. It hit like the building back there where the batting cages are. Like this thing had to go. This had to be like a 440-foot homer. But Statcast was probably a little off there. What else happened today? A couple other fun moments. Andrew McCutchen, he walked on a pitch violation. That was kind of fun because he tried talking the umpire into letting him stay. He didn't want to take the free walk. Braxton Ashcraft came in, pitched a scoreless 6th and 7th. Looked really good. Fastball was like 95, 96. Struck out Kobe Mayo on a curve. Slider looked sharp. So got to assume Ashcraft, I don't know how much longer he's got in Major League camp, but he looked good today. Hannah Mears interviewed him after his outing, and they mentioned like that Indianapolis rotation to start the year. Like all those guys are probably going to play some sort of role in Pittsburgh at some point this season. But Braxton Ashcraft, Thomas Harrington, Bubba Chandler, Mike Burrows, you got to anticipate all 4 of those guys are probably starting the year in AAA. That Indianapolis rotation, it's going to be fun watching those games for a bit until some of those guys start getting called up. Try to get to some comments here. What do we got here? If Tree could hit 250 plus, he'd be great. Love Triolo. Please hit it a little. IKF, not a fan, even if he does hit a little. Yeah, IKF, my thing with him is they're just not deploying him correctly. Like I don't think he's an everyday shortstop. I think he's best served in that super utility role. And when you trot him out there every day at shortstop, you're probably going to see some things get exposed. Oh, yeah, this is a good question. Do you agree with Greg Brown mentioned later in the game? Sung Chae Chang looked sharp at short. He made a really nice play in the hole. Greg Brown mentioned that he thinks we're going to see him at some point this season. And I'm a little skeptical on that, mostly just because we're still talking about a guy. He is on the 40 man, which definitely helps him. But he was a below average hitter in AA. He did get to AAA last year, so you got to imagine they're going to start him there this year. Also, he's really the only shortstop this team, like pure shortstop this team has on the 40 man roster, especially after Alika Williams got DFA'd. So I don't know. I could see him being called up at some point just because of the ability to play shortstop. Like you got to think, right? Like if something happens to IKF, let's say IKF needs to miss some time. You need someone who can play shortstop. And I think Nick Gonzalez is good enough where he could handle that position for like a short period of time. but then you still want like someone else who can do it. And like Triolo can technically do it, but like, yeah, the offense for Chang just it was quite bad last year in Altoona. So I think if you are going to see Chang, you're going to see very much like Alika Williams type output out of him. He's not a guy I think I would get very excited about right now, but I do think there is a chance that you could see him at some point, just for strictly the ability to play shortstop. Again, if yeah, I mean, there are people in the comments here like if he's getting playing time, that's not it's not great. Miles here. If Chang is called up this season, the season is lost at that point. I don't know if it's lost. I think you can get away with like a glove only shortstop for a little bit of time, but it's certainly not ideal. That's for sure. See, Ryan Borucki pitched pitched a scoreless eighth inning, did give up a hit, but he worked around it. Donardo and I talked about him a little bit on Starbucks this morning. He's doing everything he can to make this team 6 scoreless innings so far this spring. He's fighting for a job on the Pirates. He's fighting for a job with another team. If he doesn't make the Pirates, he has the ability to opt out and sign a major league deal somewhere else. So it's going to be interesting. Well, not necessarily sign a major league deal. He's already signed a deal. But if someone wants to give him a 26-man roster spot for opening day, he has the ability to opt out and take that deal. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this, like, that's as far as what's left of this spring. There's a couple bullpen spots that are still wide open. The first base battle, for a few weeks before Horwitz is back, and then there's some bench spots, obviously that are still up for grabs, including that backup catcher position behind Joey Bart. Tanner Rainey also pitched a scoreless ninth. He's looked really good. I don't think Tanner Rainey could make this team. Like, it's going to take some injuries, I think, for that to happen. But he looks sharp as a non-roster invitee. He also struck out Kobe Mayo, which is a common thing. Kobe Mayo strikes out a lot. But yeah, that was pretty much all my takeaways from today. Overall, Keller, like I said, the changeup execution is certainly enticing for me. I want to keep seeing that out of him, because that can completely change the type of pitcher that he is against lefties. And I said, he's still not throwing the cutter. Like I said, Statcast says he threw one today, but my guess is that was probably just miscast. So 1 cutter and 9 changeups so far. See if there's any comments here before we wrap things up. But Penn, I'd rather call up Termarr Johnson than Chang. And I mean, yeah, probably, but Termarr also is not, like I said, as far as shortstops go, Termarr's not really that guy. Brody says Stewart going to make the club. He looks to be he's getting starts at first base. He seems to be getting more starts at first base than Derek Hall, if you're looking at the non-roster invitees. I still think they could go the route of like York, Triolo, if they wanted to just stick to guys on the 40-man. Penn says, God, I hope Stewart doesn't make this club. Brody, Charrington, props for his bullpen options. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely a deeper bullpen at this time of the year than normal. I do want to bring this up. Buckhome Mike, he always calls Ke'Bryan Hayes Fragile Hayes, but Ke'Bryan Hayes hasn't played in a few days, so just something to kind of keep an eye on. I haven't heard anything, but I think it's been since Wednesday since Ke'Bryan Hayes has gotten into a game, and even then he was DHing. So we're talking about 6 days now without playing the field for Ke'Bryan Hayes. I could be wrong there, but I think that's right. Let me just double check that, but I know when we were in the game chat in Discord, that was mentioned. Yeah, Ke'Bryan Hayes has not played since March 5th. So yeah, I haven't heard anything there. But yeah, we're looking at 5 days now without seeing Ke'Bryan Hayes. So yeah, not Not ideal. Maybe they're just giving him some time. Actually, here we go. Noah Hiles. Derek Shelton said that Ke'Bryan Hayes is experiencing some left side tightness, which explains why we haven't seen him play in a game since March 5th. God, that's bad news. That's such bad news. Like this whole spring, you're like, all right, Hayes is finally healthy. Hayes is finally healthy. And I mean, it's just the same thing over and over again with them. So keep an eye on that. Ke'Bryan Hayes, left side discomfort or left side tightness. Ugh, unbelievable. All right. Well, Pirates lose 6-3. Our next post-game show will be Friday against the Tigers. It's a Friday night game. Hopefully we win because I'd love to give away some sandwiches at some point this spring. Again, we're giving away 4 Permane Brothers sandwiches following every Pittsburgh Pirates win. All you got to do is tune in live to the post-game show on YouTube and comment #RaiseIt when that happens. That'll get you put in the contest for it. So hopefully we get to give away sandwiches next time. No sandwiches today, but appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody joining us. If you're listening on the podcast after the fact, you guys rock. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Like Penn said, 4. We're giving away 4 Permane Brothers sandwiches following every single Pirates win this year. So you got to assume 100 wins, 100 win season. That's 400 sandwiches we're going to give away. 400 sandwiches we're going to give away with a 100 win season. Yeah, that's maybe wish casting a bit, but I wish I had Dougie Fresh tonight. Missing Dougie Fresh tonight. We're gonna have to fix that internet. Gonna have to fix his internet before we start the season. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys. Again, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Eric Longenhagen will be our guest on this week's episode of WNS9 Plus. So stay tuned for that. That should be Wednesday night. The Fangraphs top Pirates prospect list should be out by then. So we'll have plenty to talk about there, and we'll preview the spring breakout game on Friday. So that's all I got. Peace out. Appreciate you all. Talk to you later.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.